My goal is simple. I have until the end of 2025 to finish my backlog, and if I don't, I'll get a platinum tattoo somewhere on my body, and you guys get to vote where it goes. But here's a twist. For every 100 subscribers we gain, I'll add another platinum onto the backlog. Currently, we have 24 games in our backlog, and last week, one of these games just came out, which I've been so excited to play, which is Split Fiction. This game has 7 bronzes, 5 silvers, and 8 gold trophies on the way to our platinum. It's rated a 3 out of 10 difficulty and takes approximately 15 hours to platinum. And oh boy, let me tell you, this game is an absolute masterpiece. I did personally prefer the story for It Takes Two, but this one just had so many crazy elements to it, especially near the end of the game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves and get straight into the game. So the premise of this game revolves around these 2 characters, Mio Hudson and Zoe Foster, who are both writers that have been invited by a company called Radar Publishing to test a new experimental simulation. But whilst the machines are powering up and all the other writers are going into their own simulations, Mio gets scared. And a struggle starts, which ends with Mio falling into the same simulation as Zoe. Now we get to pick which characters we want to use, and I pick Mio and my partner, Nico, picks Zoe. We are then in Zoe's story, who likes to write fantasies, but then Mio appears from a glitch in the Matrix, no wait, I mean simulation. And after a disagreement between the 2 characters, we both end up touching the glitch, which teleports us to a new world, which is Mio's sci-fi story. We then set out to find another glitch. Not long after, we hijack a ship and have our first crazy moment of the game, where we are evading the enemies while shooting at them at the same time. But we get shot down and luckily land next to another glitch. Back into Zoe's world now, and it doesn't slow down at all, because we are then chased by loads of trolls. We climb up this massive tower whilst all the trolls are trying to grab us and find yet another glitch. We are then teleported into a kind of in-between worlds area where we can see the owner of Radar and the scientists talking about extracting all the ideas from the writers. Low key, this dude doesn't even look that evil, but he's an actual piece of shit. It's time to go into another glitch, and this time it's back with Mio's sci-fi world. And this is the first of many worlds where we both have our own different abilities. Zoe has an electrical whip thing which we can drag and throw items around, whilst Mio has this cool samurai sword which we can use to move to different surfaces. Whilst climbing through a kind of motorway of ships, we get caught by the bad guys of this world and finally get to put our abilities to the test. And after the fighting's finished, we find a portal, and inside there's a side story to the main game, which we need to do all of these for a trophy. So basically, the side stories are usually just small, fun adventures like this one, which is inside a desert. And inside, we have to cross this sand area, which has these, I guess, sand sharks swimming around. But if we bang these towers, it attracts them. Wait, bruh, this is literally Dune, what the hell? Now we get to control our own sand sharks and fly down this massive hill dodging stuff. And I can't lie, you'll hear me say this multiple times during this video, but this game is fucking awesome. Finally, after getting to the bottom of the hill, we fly back through the portal, and that's our first side story done. And then we get our first trophy, which is for using Zoe's ability to throw a ball at this bridge. And then shortly after, another trophy for removing the ear and leg from this elephant sign, which for those of you who have played It Takes Two, you will remember this as PTSD. We then get our first of many boss fights, which is against Mr. Hammer, and yeah, of course he has to say it's hammer time. It's hammer time! We make quick work out of him and then yeet him out of a window. You'd think after a boss fight the game would be a little chill, but nope, now we have to run away from a ship whilst it's shooting at us. But we make it to safety, and now it's definitely going to be chill because we find another side story. And this time, we're playing as pigs. And of course, we get abilities again. But Mio can fart rainbows, and Zoe, well, she can turn into a slinky. Not quite as exciting. This side story is actually pretty great because we can pop 2 trophies here, with the first for jump fart into this massive pig so it can also fart. Nice. And the second for huffing, puffing and blowing this piggy's house down. But the fun piggy games end here because we fall into a blender and get turned into sausages. And now we get to cook ourselves and put ketchup on each other. so it's not too bad I guess. Well, that's until we get eaten of course. Bro, this is literally the movie Sausage Party. And then that's the side story done? Yeah, very weird one for sure.
I guess there's no easy way to tell a kid how sausages are made.
We then have another chase scene by this big eye robot that is trying to collect our unpaid parking tickets. And then we get to fight it for our second boss fight, which we eventually defeat and crush it into a tiny little ball. And after yet another crazy car chase scene and spriting all these citizens, we finally get to relax at this pool. We then find our very first bench, which you can sit at to get a view and also a trophy in the future after we view all of them. And then we get yet another side story, which this time we are climbing a mountain whilst these massive giants help us. So it's basically like extreme hiking. Then we pop a trophy for hitting this robot loads of times until it eventually kills us. Now it's time for another chase scene, but this time it's cool because we get to also complete phone captures at the same time. And if we complete all of them before the timer ends, we'll earn a trophy for it. After the chase scene, we have the final boss fight of this world, which is against a massive robot that we destroy whilst on our bikes. And let me tell you, this shit was fun as fuck. Especially this part where we jump up a ramp and shoot it at the same time. Then once the robot is defeated, another glitch opens to a different world. But first we go to the glitch area where we can see the radar people outside talking about extracting us out of the simulation because the glitches we are making are destroying all the simulations. On to our next world now, and this time it's Zoe's world where she is a fairy.
She was a fairy.
And Mio is a massive gorilla. And she can also turn into a fish. We then find a swing, and if we use Mio's gorilla to smash it whilst Zoe's on it, we'll get a trophy. It's time for another side story, and this time we're flying through the skies whilst chasing a train. Once we make it to the front of the train, we get another boss fight, and this one was pretty cool because it reminds me of those 2D shooting games. And once we defeat it, we finish the side story. Zoe then combines with nature, and now she has the ability to control all the plants around us. Which of course means my partner can fuck with me and keep killing me before I can cross these spikes. Now Zoe goes back to normal, and it's time for another side story. This one is literally a game show where we need to keep throwing this ball to each other whilst doing an obstacle course. Which doesn't sound too bad until you realise the trophy for doing this entire side story without the bomb exploding once. This trophy right here took us a good 30 minutes to do, and the last of my brain cells. But we eventually get it done, and here's the trophy for it. We then control this massive log thing whilst we defend it from tons of tiny little gorillas. So we then get a cutscene which gives us a backstory into why Zoe's stories are so childlike, because she made these up when she was younger with her sister. Now it's time for another boss fight. Well, not exactly, because it's actually a dance off. Not gonna lie, it's parts like this which makes this game so fun to play. It's just so perfectly done with the intense parts, but then also with this fun gameplay like this. We then get another trophy for throwing these 3 snowball things and then KOing this bird mid-air. GG's bird. Wait, hold up. I never even realised how cute this thing actually is. It's time for another side story. And this time we are in space, running across these ship platforms, avoiding the burn from a sun-like thing, which literally one-shots us if we get hit by it. We manage to stop the sun, but then it pulls us into a massive black hole, and we return back to the main story. Finally, we find the boss of this level, which is a cute little cat. Oh, wait, what the fuck? This thing literally just evolved into Fenrir from God of War. Holy shit. Well, I guess it's time for another crazy boss fight, I guess. But we beat the shit out of Fenrir and turn it back into a cute little kitty again. And that's another world done, and on to the next. Firstly, we get another cutscene with the bad guy and the board of the company who is pissed off with him because of the glitches. He then finds a way to communicate to us through the simulation and tries bribing Mia with money because we find out she is actually trying to become a writer so she can help her dad who is in hospital. But fuck this guy, we're going to keep making glitches, boys. Now it's back to Mio's story world and we are 2 heroes. Wait, hold up, I swear that's Sergeant Johnson from Halo. Anyway, our abilities are the exact same, but we both have different colours. Mio is red and Zoe is blue, and we can only shoot our own colour. We then get a cutscene of Zoe asking Mio if her stories have anything to do with her dad getting sick, but she kind of shrugs it off, but in reality we know that that is the reason why. On to another side story again, which is basically just a kite race, so it's pretty straightforward and ends super fast to be honest. Boss fight time! This one, all we do is shoot the legs corresponding to our colours, and GG's, we drop them into some acid. Well, that's not it, because we then get a phase 2 for the fight against the flying part of the robot. But we squish him like one of those ASMR hydraulic TikToks and move on. Time for another side story, but this one has 2 trophies, and you already know we love our trophies over here. So the first trophy we get is for making all the potions that are on this board. And the second for turning Zoe into a chair and then sitting on her. Yeah, okay. And the side story is pretty straightforward, but we get to draw with plants, so you already know what we get to draw. Oh yeah, can't forget this cool Dark Souls Easter egg. Back to the main story, and we get another trophy for finding this secret cake. Also, we get to fall through this portal over and over again. Time for the next boss fight against another robot. This one had another fun 2D section where it's chasing after you and you have to shoot it backwards to hit it. We close a big door on it and chop its head off, and boom, another boss fight done. And we're on to another side story now. This one was like a 2D drawing section with a story being written on the screen, which was pretty cool. And at the end, it also has a section with all these buildings looking something like Blender, which was honestly cool as fuck. We then get a cutscene with a massive squid looking thing kept in captivity, which is meant to symbolise her dad, who she wants to set free. Once we do though, the whole building starts to collapse and we have to escape on these jet skis. After escaping, we found our next portal. Back to another cutscene with the outside, and this CEO thinks he's the good guy. Yeah, okay bro, if you say so. We find another glitch which reverts everything he was trying to do to stop us. And now he is actually fuming. Back to our next build, and it's Sailor Moon, woo!
Really?
Nah, not really, because we get to actually own our very own dragons, which each dragon has its own ability. Mio's can fly, and Zoe's can use its tail to grab onto stuff. Shortly after this, we also get a trophy for feeding our dragons. On to the next side story, which is basically identical to that snowboarding game from years ago. And then back to the main story, and it's time to evolve our dragons. And now we get even more abilities. Mio's can puke everywhere, acid, and Zoe's can now barrel roll like Sonic. On to the next boss fight against the Dragon Slayer. This one was kinda meh, not gonna lie, all you do is just puke all over it and that's it, you kill him. And then yet another side story where we float across space trying to escape a space shore which is blowing up. And time for yet another side story. And this one is another funny one because we play as Teeth in a world of sweet food. Basically Zoe's childhood dentist trauma. Oh, what the f is this thing? Bruh, tell me that don't look like a dick. Anyway, at the end we get a boss fight and this is traumatizing, especially this part when she uses her drill on you and it sounds identical to when you actually go to the dentist. Okay, yeah, this is giving me PTSD. But then we get to use the drill on her and that's the side story done. Boss fight time again, and this time we are fighting a huge metal turtle. This one has an actual messed up ending because we literally pick him up and throw him into lava like he's a One Ring or something. And with that done, we use the gold from the turtle to get these fancy swords. And then yeah, our dragons evolve again. We then fight the final boss of this level, which is a massive dragon, and we go through this crazy scene of climbing the dragon. At the top of the dragon, we make it to its head and then use our swords plus the help of our dragons to fully finish it off. And with that done, we can move on to our next world. But first, we get a cutscene of Zoe explaining what really happened to her sister and why her stories revolve around her mainly. Plus why the dragons symbolise her. It's pretty sad, I'm not gonna lie. Then we get another outside cutscene and the CEO has completely lost the plot because the board has lost hope in him, so he is crashing out and smashes the computers. He's actually got on full psychopath mode now because he plans to turn the simulations to full power, which will result in us dying. So that sends us into our own subconscious where we really need to face our fears now. First, we have Mio's subconscious story, and our abilities this time are these tiny little balls that we both control. Mio's can turn into little spiders, while Zoe's is like a magnet on walls. We finally get another trophy, which will use Mio's new boat ability and go on these bubbles, and the shark will jump up and eat us. And shortly after this, another for shooting this box while Zoe's inside. Gotta love the Metal Gear Solid Easter egg. After we get that trophy, we then go into an area where Mio can control the machines while Zoe rolls around, which is literally like playing pinball. I love this game. And guess what? We even have a boss fight whilst doing the pinball. And after the boss fight, we get taken captive by this robot and then put into a big arena against another boss. It's not gonna lie, so far the boss fights, besides being cool, they aren't very hard, but this one right here had me getting a little sweat on. But we defeat him anyway by knocking his bloody block off, mate. We also find another funny little Easter egg with the two guys from our way out who we can kill by lowering their cages. Mia then controls a robot while Zoe crosses and then knocks us with her. And I'm not going to tell you what we were saying, but let's just leave it at that as one hell of a donga. We also pop a trophy here, which is for using the robot to knock Zoe off the map. And then we pop yet another trophy, which is for one of us locking the other in this cage. Finally, we fight the boss fight of this level, which is the evil side of Mio. And oh boy, this boss fight is it. This feels like something from Stellar Blade. And by this point, I am tryhard in this game, and it's such a cool but also intense fight. There's so many crazy phases to this, and parts where we are both doing our own thing. It's just unreal, the stuff in this game. At the end, Zoe has to spam press triangle to kill Mio's bad side, but I decided I would also spam press triangle, which made us fail. So we go again, but this time I press nothing. And that's Mio's trauma done, and now she's relieved that she can finally let go of the stresses of her dad being in hospital. Back to the outside, and all the scientists have left the CEO now because he has gone full crazy. So he then puts the full facility on lockdown, and shit's getting serious now. Time to do Zoe's trauma now, and the abilities we get is Zoe can pull objects towards her, whilst Mio gets his bird which can light up areas that we can climb on. We then find two centipedes who I think are meant to symbolise Zoe's parents. After the cutscene, we get to control them, and we're both on one side each, so this is basically like playing chain together, especially this part where we need to move from one platform to another. After that scene, we leave Zoe's parents behind and find her childhood house, and now we fight Zoe's inner demons, which are shaped as massive hydras. This is another crazy part where we're running across platforms trying to make our way to a crossbow so we can shoot off their heads. But eventually too many spawn and we are thrown into the air and fall into one of their mouths. Now we make it to the Hydra's heart and Zoe's light is fading, so Mio is basically shown as a light source for her through the darkness. But we make it through and then we shoot an arrow into the heart, in other words Zoe's heart, so she can forgive herself for what happened to her sister. Then we get a cutscene of Zoe talking to her sister and she finally lets go of her childhood trauma. But that's not the happy ending, because the CEO has gone full psycho and is now forcing himself into the simulation so he can basically kill us, which causes massive glitches in the simulations, and now we have two separate worlds but we're shown as the same one. Kind of confusing, but this is honestly so fucking cool. I mean, just look how crazy this falling scene is. We literally move between worlds to dodge objects and even sharks. Now it's time to finally face Raider once and for all. And this is the best fight in my opinion. There's just so much going on. We get to use miniguns. Then there's a scene where the screen is rotating to different worlds. Dude, it's just so completely crazy. This entire boss fight is just unreal. We're then using swords to throw at him whilst he's slamming the floor and throwing sharks at us. Honestly, there's just so much going on. I wish I could just put the entire boss fight here. I mean, just look at this. We're now having to run from this massive saw whilst Zoe slams the crates like she's on a TV or some shit. Then Mio controls a phone and can tilt it for Zoe to grab things. What the hell is going on? And now it's time to finally end him, which we do by spam pressing triangle and bring the two worlds into him. And that's it, we are finally free. Now we get a final cutscene of Mio and Zoe at Mio's dad's grave, and then we see a book that they have both made together called Split Fiction. And that's this amazing story done, and the only story trophy we receive for the entire game. I then go back and pop two final trophies I missed, which the first is for completing all the side stories. And finally, the last, which is for sitting on all the benches. And there it is, boys, our platinum. What a fucking game this was. Honestly, if GTA 6 doesn't release this year, I could see this winning game of the year. I know it's a little early to say that, but honestly this game was absolutely unreal. I'm quite excited it's over, but I would 100% recommend this game to you all. It's just an amazing experience. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe, join the Discord, and I'll see you next week. Peace.